Weed has increasingly gained more and more attention as time goes on. And while Snoop Dogg, Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus, Pete Davidson, and Jennifer Lawrence had a lot to do with it, you might be surprised to know that weed also has its fair share of secrets. So, whether you're a marijuana connoisseur or just looking for some information, you have come to the right place. We're going to tell you things about weed that you might never have heard of. So let us begin. Many people have the wrong idea that it's easy to take too much weed. Well, you can do a number on yourself by smoking too much, but weed isn't going to kill you. This built-in safety feature comes from the fact that weed and opioids affect our bodies in very different ways. While opioids can mess up the parts of the brain that control breathing, which can be very bad if taken too much, weed doesn't work that way. It goes after different sensors that have nothing to do with how we breathe. Some people say that you'd have to take 40,000 times as much as the average user does in a day for it to kill you, which is a huge amount. So while real weed overdoses are pretty uncommon, going too far might just make you feel really tired. The symptoms of weed overdose may differ based on an individual's sensitivity to THC and the quantity ingested. Although a weed overdose isn't typically life-threatening, it warrants attention. It's crucial to recognize that the repercussions of a weed overdose can vary among individuals. While some may encounter mild symptoms, others might face more pronounced effects. Additionally, factors such as the potency of the strain, mode of consumption, and personal tolerance levels can influence the effect of weed overdose. The weed business is mostly about Indica, which makes you sleepy, and Sativa, which makes you feel energized. The truth is more complicated than this simple choice between two options suggests. Most cannabis on the market today is a mixture, which means it has traits from both the Indica and Sativa types. Because cannabis is so complicated, each user's experience can be different and unique. This makes simple explanations less likely and encourages people to try out the wide range of benefits for themselves. Because cannabis fans are creative and come from a wide range of backgrounds, the world of weed is full of slang words. With more than 1,200 nicknames like Mary Jane, Weed, 420, Ganja, Nuggets, Broccoli, Flower, Oregano, and Blanket, the cannabis community has created its own language, similar to how wine lovers talk about their favorite bottles. Different places have their own names for weed. In South Africa, it's called Daga. In North Africa, Kif. In Jamaica, they call it Ganja. In Spanish, Mota. And in Hawaii, it's known as Pakalolo. Naming strains this way has been done since at least the 1970s. Often, growers give each strain its name based on funny or interesting traits they noticed during a tasting session. This leads to names that are easy to remember, like Chocolope or Green Crack. The fact that strain names can be funny shows how rich the weed culture is and how open and helpful the community is. These names don't just describe a plant, they bring people together by starting talks and bringing up shared experiences. It gives everyone in the community a chance to show off their creativity and honor the unique effects and stories that come with each strain. Studies that were released in the Drug and Alcohol Dependence Journal show that cannabis has very different effects on men and women. There is evidence that weed may help women feel less pain, but they are also more likely to become dependent on it. This could lead to a higher risk of dependence and other bad things. This work with rats showed how important estrogen is during ovulation and other times when estrogen levels are high in controlling these gender-specific responses. The findings of this study open up new ways to study how people use cannabis and how it can be used for medical purposes. They also show that the connection between gender and cannabis is more complex than was thought before. Men tend to use cannabis more for fun, while women often use it for medical reasons. With more places allowing cannabis and people being more accepting of it, women might not feel as much pressure to avoid using it. More girls and women using cannabis could be because of changes in laws, society, and culture. Gender also affects how people use cannabis. Women tend to eat cannabis-infused foods more often, while men prefer smoking, or using stronger forms like hash and oils. Men also use cannabis more overall. The way someone takes cannabis can change how it affects them. For example, Ing gives a quicker and stronger feeling because the body absorbs the active part of cannabis faster. As new cannabis products such as Lemon OG Haze, Raspberry Lime Gummies, Lilac Cookies, Cloud Creamery, and Kiva Chocolate come out, these differences between genders might affect how people use cannabis and how it affects them. The effects of the cannabis business on the environment are being closely looked at as it continues to grow and become legal. Some people are worried about how much energy indoor farming in the US uses. It leaves behind about the same amount of carbon dioxide as millions of cars every year. Cannabis plants release a lot of biogenic, volatile organic compounds that can affect indoor air quality. Growing cannabis indoors uses a lot of energy for things like heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and lights, which can produce greenhouse gases. This cultivation process might also cause soil erosion. The interesting truth is that both hemp and marijuana can store carbon, which is great for eco-friendly building materials like hempcrete. This shows how important it is to find a middle ground when it comes to weed growing. We should use the good things that it does for the earth, while also fixing the issues that its production methods cause. One of the foremost environmental concerns associated with cannabis cultivation is deforestation. Illegal growers often clear vast swaths of land, including forests and natural habitats, to make space for cultivation. This not only results in the loss of biodiversity, but also disrupts ecosystems. The use of pesticides, fertilizers, and other agrochemicals in cannabis cultivation poses a significant risk to the environment. Runoff from cannabis farms can contaminate nearby water sources, causing pollution and harming aquatic ecosystems. Moreover, these chemicals can persist in the soil, affecting soil quality and biodiversity in the long term. It might surprise you to learn that weed wasn't always a controversial subject. In the 1600s, hemp, also known as weed, was very valuable. In fact, it was legal money in the US. In some places, farmers can use it to pay their VT. There was something strange about the colonial economy about this, and it also showed how important hemp was. Its strong fibers were used to make paper, clothes, and ropes, so it was an important part of society. This time period is very different from the current legal problems and negative views about weed. It shows how quickly attitudes and rules can change as time goes on. In the world of weed, it's pretty easy to mix up pot and hemp and believe they are the same thing. But the two are genetically different, and because of that, they have different effects and qualities. For instance, cannabis sativa, which is known for calming and sometimes sedating benefits, can make you feel calm. Industrial and medical hemp both come from the same plant family, but they won't get you high. This is all because of a chemical called tetrahydrocannabinolic acid, THCA. When heated, it changes into THC, which is what makes you high. Hemp won't have the same effect on you because it doesn't have the genes to make this switch. Cannabis, which is related to hemp, does make THC though, but it's not very good at making CBDA. During the process, CBDA is changed into CBD, a chemical known for its possible medical benefits without getting you high. Hemp and marijuana plants belong to the same species. Legally, hemp is a type of cannabis plant with 0.3% or less THC, while marijuana has more than 0.3% THC. CBD can come from both hemp and marijuana plants. This level of detail shows how important it is for both politicians and cannabis fans to understand these differences. Because it has so many different types of genes, the cannabis plant isn't simple at all. Cannabis has been a part of human history for at least 8,000 years, and people from all over the world have used it. Cannabis was first valued for its strong fibers, which could be used to make ropes, fabrics, and other sturdy items. However, it quickly showed how useful it could be in other ways. Asian, Egyptian, and Persian writers all wrote about how good it was for you as a medicine, and the ancient Greeks knew how to enjoy it for fun. This long history with weed shows a lot more than just its usefulness. It shows how the plant has been important to people for hundreds of years by showing how relationships have grown and changed. We're not just hooked on cannabis because of a new trend. Our relationship with it goes back a long time and has been improving people's lives in many ways. This long history with cannabis not only shows how useful it is in many situations, but also shows how much we still love and are interested in this old plant friend. Baby soaps and shampoos like those from Johnson & Johnson, Aveeno, and CVS might make newborns' marijuana screening tests show a positive result.
A small amount of the cleansing products in a urine sample, just 0.1 milliliters or less, was actually found to cause a positive test result for marijuana.
At the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, researchers started looking into this when they noticed more newborns in their nursery were testing positive for marijuana. Even a tiny bit of the cleansing product in a urine sample, as little as 0.1 milliliters or less, could lead to a positive result. A number of well-known brands had their contents tested and shown to cause false positives in marijuana tests. This shows how complicated it is to screen for chemical exposure and how commonplace items can interfere with medical diagnostics, even if the soaps had no effect on the babies other than to cause wrong test results. The scientists are uncertain about the reason behind baby soaps triggering positive results in marijuana screening tests. One possibility is that certain compounds in the soap share a structural resemblance to THC. Alternatively, it could be because the chemicals present in the soap alter the functioning of the test. Marijuana can impact brain development, particularly in babies, children, and teenagers whose brains are still growing. Research suggests that marijuana used during pregnancy may lead to issues with attention, memory, problem-solving abilities, and behavior in children. Using marijuana before the age of 18 can affect how the brain forms connections for essential functions like attention, memory, and learning. The effects on attention, memory, and learning could be long-lasting or permanent. Young people who use marijuana might struggle in school and experience difficulties with memory. So that is all the time we had today, folks. Hope you enjoyed this video, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon on your way out. See you all next time.